It's been both good and bad. I mean, it's allowing us to do stuff in a different way that we never did before, which is exciting. But it was definitely a revenue hit, like I think it is for everybody who owns a physical space. We own founder spaces.
This is another episode of the Automate and Grow podcast. My guest might be the first person that's come on twice to the podcast, which is Captain Hoff, Stephen Hoffman from Founderspace and the author of Make Elephants Fly. Thanks, Steve, for joining me again.
I'm happy to be back.
And we are living in interesting times.
Yes, which is a curse, by the way, in China.
I referenced it actually in my new book. So I was like, wait, I just referenced that, but yeah.
Yes, we would much prefer to be living in boring times.
A little bit, right? So I think we were talking before we started. One thing is that I know you do a lot of work in China, and I do as well, but you probably more than I do. Just for people that are watching, like I think we had a preview of this like probably 2 or 3 months before it hit here, right?
Yes, early in the year.
So
starting in January and February, we
yeah,
started to see,
exactly.
we have offices across China, partners across China, they all had to shut down. So we're now going through this twice, which is twice as painful.
Yeah, right. You chew up probably 6 months of the year.
It is. It's taken the whole year. Like it's a struggle. I mean, and we're spending a huge amount of time coordinating. We've moved a lot of stuff online. It's been a total shift in our business. And it's been both good and bad. I mean, it's allowing us to do stuff in a different way that we never did before, which is exciting. But it was definitely a revenue hit, like I think it is for everybody who owns a physical space. We own founder spaces.
True, yeah, because so for people that don't know, Founderspace is not just a co-working facility, but you also have other programs, right?
Right. So we have incubator programs, startup accelerator programs, corporate programs. We work with a lot of big corporations, advising them on innovation, all that stuff.
So in China, I think, there's a lot of obviously misinformation and conspiracy theories out there, but what did you see early on that might be a preview to what's going to happen here, hopefully?
Well, things are better there. Like China, people are back at work. They've been back for a while. And, everything is opening back up. They haven't really started to do big events yet, so they've been holding off on those. But all day-to-day office work, people are going to work. They seem to have it under control. You never know all the information. I had a friend who literally just flew back to China this week,
Okay.
and she was describing to me, she's Chinese, but she couldn't fly directly from the US, so she had to go to Amsterdam, which is sort of the long way around, and then land in Guangzhou, that's where she's
Yep.
from, and they basically locked her up. So like she doesn't have any symptoms for the disease, but just because she was abroad, she is now quarantined in a hotel. She isn't allowed to see her family or anybody for 2 weeks. Every day they come and take her temperature. People come dressed in masks and
Oh
suits,
my gosh.
to interact with. It's like she's become the viral vector. She is, she isn't even sick. Like she has no symptoms. But every day they come in masks and stuff, and they take her temperature. The people who drop off her food at the hotel staff, they literally leave the food at the door, knock, and run. And like you see them running down the hall, like terrified to have a face-to-face encounter with her. So put it this way, contrast that with the US. I don't, we're much more relaxed about this situation than they are in China.
Yeah, I think, obviously it rubs people the wrong way when you're in a country built on freedoms, at least the
Yes.
idea of freedoms. And the fear is that, they'll just keep encroaching on your freedoms and it'll never go back.
Right. And in China, they just accept this, right? And it's a sort of a communal society. It's not an individualistic society. Everybody does what everybody says. They're used to top down, whatever they say on the top, we're gonna have to do anyway. So there's no use arguing with it. There's some advantages, some disadvantages, but definitely in containing something like a virus, like having that degree of control. I mean, in other respects, it's it really impinges on your freedom, but they can use that to effectively contain this virus. And I think that's what they've done.
Yeah, and I think here we've been probably under for what, 30 days? I think, is that right? Today's the
I'm losing track,
I know.
honestly.
I think it's around 30 days. I think it was on the 12th of March, actually, that a lot of stuff started shutting down, like kind of 12th to 17th. So we're just a little over 30. And are you guys going till May 15th in San Francisco? Or are you?
I've lost track, because they keep, the dates are all uncertain. Nobody knows. So I've stopped really paying attention to it.
You're
And
like, whatever.
yeah, whatever. They'll let me know when I can do it. And I'm just like doing what I can do now in my house. And, honestly, I've never been busier. Like I am
Right.
super busy.
Oh
You know,
boy.
I transformed. This is what you're looking at. The picture behind me is an actual founder space, but that's not where I am. I'm just superimposed on top of that. Uh, where I am now is in my house, but I've transformed my house into a production studio. Like
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, so I'm shooting really high quality video. I'm finishing up my next book that I plan to launch. I'm coordinating all over the world our different founder spaces and different partners. I'm doing online events, I'm doing podcasts, and,
Awesome.
and and video blogs. So I find myself, even in this crazy time, I'm not bored. Like I
Right.
can't even, there literally aren't enough hours in the day for me to get everything done. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so busy. Like I want to finish that video. I don't have time.
I
So
find myself getting burned out during the day. Like I find that I wake up and I immediately start working and I'm trying to create a new routine, but I think that's the bigger risk for me. Like I've been busy like you have. Um, so I don't know
well,
how
I'll
do you
tell you
manage
what I
that?
do. I go out every day to exercise. I make sure I get out of my house. Like I'm out. Like there's some nice parks. I'm in San Francisco. They have Land's End, Golden Gate Park. I go out there. I try to avoid all the joggers that are always coming at me like little, like missiles, like viral vectors, like it's an obstacle course. But, assuming I can avoid them, I feel great about being outside.
That's good. Yeah, I guess that is true. You can go out quite a bit, so that is a positive.
Yeah, you can if you want to. I mean, literally, you can go hiking. You can get in your car. We're not restricted here. We can do a
That's
lot. A lot of people just don't, right? They
Yeah,
figure
that's
I
true.
can't do it.
Like you can't. So one of the things that we were talking about off camera was how those businesses that are kind of traditional in both their structure but also their model are probably being hurt a lot worse than businesses that might be more digital. Is that a good way to?
That's absolutely right. But it really depends on the business. But yeah, if you are tied to anything with a physical location, you're going to take a much bigger hit in general. Now, we look at companies. There are companies that are digital, but their business is related to stores and restaurants like Yelp. They had to lay off 1,000 people
Wow.
because they're digital, but all their customers are physical, and so that they're not going to pay for advertising when they're closed. There's
Right.
their revenue goes. So we see a lot of the food tech companies, things like that. They're suffering, but the ones that are purely digital, the more digital they are, the more automated they are, the less impacted they are.
So one of the things I've been writing in my new book is about making sure that number one, you are properly aligned. Like you're not creating old business models. And I think you write a lot about innovation. And how do you see people creating something new? And are people thinking that way right now to insulate themselves in the future?
I I do. I see it a lot. Yeah, in my book Make Elephants Fly, I go into detail on like the whole process of innovation. What I see now is, people are being forced to innovate when they normally, things were fine. People tend to just go with the flow. I'm making money, but now that everything's disrupted, they have the time. I actually tell them it's a great time to rethink your business. It's a great time, even if you're going to keep the same business, to plan for the future. How can you be more efficient? How can you add more value to your customers? What can you do to take your business up a notch? You have time to think about it. You're not like every day in the restaurant or every day, running whatever you're running, doing events. You can totally reimagine because those are going to come back. There is a danger though.
You
In
think
China,
physical businesses will come back?
no, here's the danger. Not that physical businesses won't come back. In general, people like to be out. Like,
Sure.
we like to go out. We will go out to eat again. And these restaurants will open up. Some of the physical stores that weren't really profitable in the first place, they're
All of
the
them.
retailers. They're not. They may not open up again.
Yeah.
But any business that was, doing well before, will be doing well again if they survive, if they can pull through this tough time.
I mean,
But
I think the risk there is that if it feels like we're being prepped for a change in density, which is, we're still going to have social distancing. So for restaurant, the ability to make money a lot of times is how many people can be closer together.
yeah, a lot of them are doing takeout and things
Right.
like that. But honestly, even the density will go back to normal. I
Oh,
mean,
you
this
think so?
virus, it won't last forever. Like it's going to go away. Like, it won't go away tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, it's the repercussions are going to be with us for some time. But the physical distancing issue, as soon as that virus tails off and it's not really here, we're going to forget about it and things are going to go back. There is a danger though. Like in China and in the US, I've seen a lot of offline businesses rush to go online. Like they want to take what they do events, especially event companies, and they want to move them all online
Right.
and other types of businesses. Honestly, online is a totally, you know this more than anybody because you're an expert in it. Online is a totally different world than offline. Like what people do online, how they do it, how the experiences they want, the value they get out of it are completely different. You can't just transpose something offline to online and expect it to work.
Yeah,
It
for
and
sure.
generate revenue. Like if you do an online event, you might be able to charge $600, $1,000 per ticket if it's a high-end event. Nobody's going to pay for that online. Like you know, you're just not going to get that money. That business model. I mean, maybe you could do the event, but the business model fundamentally won't translate to online because people
Very
don't
true.
value it in the same way as an offline event. So what I tell people is you also have to think many of the things that you're doing now, some of them they're doing just because of COVID-19, the whole virus. They're like making masks or respirators or things to deal with the situation, which is admirable. But those aren't long-term business models. Like I get pitched every day for startups doing new type of mask, new
Oh,
type of
really? Oh, interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
they feel like that's not going to be long term. I mean, I don't think it will be.
It won't be. Right? Let's face it. Like we're gonna be drowning in masks soon. We're gonna once you own enough respirators, they're not gonna know where to store them for the
Right.
next event.
That's what I
Like
was
they're gonna
thinking about, which is like, okay, you're pounding out all these ventilators, and then if this goes away, what happens to the ventilators?
yeah. They're just gonna trash them at some point
That's
because they won't want to pay to store them. So those aren't long-term business models. If you're sending me your business plan based on that, it's just it's a short-term thing. You
yeah,
need to think about when this goes away, will your business still be viable? If it won't be viable, don't invest the time. Also, if it takes you a long time to develop that product, uh, it's not going to be worth it. It's never going to pay off because by the time you get it done,
it'll be
it's going to
over.
be almost over and you won't recoup your investment. So people have to be, they can't just react. You have to be strategic about what you do in this time, where you put your resources. I think the best thing you can do is if you have a strong offline business before, it's going to come back. You need to weather the storm and you need to use your moment in your employees' time to reimagine your business. Every business can be improved. Every business, no business can't be made better. I don't care who you are. You can do
True.
a better
Yeah.
job.
And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of like lack of motivation when there's no stressor, right? So now it's like people are motivated to insulate themselves, whereas before it was like, yeah, it's a good idea to go digital or to change the way I'm doing business, but there was no like, no, you got to do this or not, you're not going to survive.
Right. So there's this big impetus to do this. But just going digital isn't enough. It's like even in your traditional business, can you do something different, right? Take this time to look at all your competitors, everything they did before, right? How can you come back into the marketplace much stronger, in a much better position? You actually have time to start getting some of this done
Yeah.
and with your team, even though your team isn't officially at the office or at the restaurant. If you're paying them, they're still your team. You should get them
That's a good
involved. You
point.
should start an innovation project. Like, how can we make our kitchen more efficient? Can we come up with new dishes, for our restaurant? How can we market this in a new way once we reopen? What are all the things we can do that we never did because every day was just such a rush to keep up with, the flow?
So I feel like, not to focus just on restaurants, but in general, if someone's business model's kind of been interrupted by this, what are a couple of points for how they can get to the point where they're innovating in a way that actually is useful?
Yeah. So the best thing you can always do is a couple things. Look at what your competitors are doing, of course, as a baseline. That's just the beginning. The next thing you need to do is really start to examine a couple things. One, what do your customers want? When they come to you, why are they coming to you? And are they getting what they really want? Like, go through and read the reviews, the online reviews of your business, and
Mhm.
start to analyze them deeply. Like, that feedback that a lot of us ignore because we're just too busy. People are
Right.
giving us, they're actually giving us valuable feedback, but we don't even have time to implement the changes, so
Yep.
that we just don't even read it. Go back and read it. It's so simple. It's just there waiting for you. Start to think about the processes you use. What tools do you use? Can you upgrade those? Can you create a better user experience? What would it take to create that experience? Can you start developing that now while you have this downtime? uh, all of these. So for me, like personally, like I told you I'm so busy, but it wasn't an accident. I literally said there's a list of things I wanted to get done that I was too busy, because like last year I was
Right.
traveling like 70% of the
Oh
time
my goodness.
to
Me
ever
for
get this
5 minutes.
stuff done. And I had this list, and I go, now's the time. I'm going to
Right.
dive into that list. You should always be keeping a list of what you want to do in the future. Then if there's ever time like this, you can just, that list is waiting for you.
Yeah, for me, so I was just about to launch the Founders Pack live events.
There you go.
On March 18th was supposed to be the first one, and that was like gone. So to your point, one of the things that was further down the line for me was the Startup and Grow course for Founders Pack, which I've created. And
Yeah.
then I've been writing the book, Form Your Own Pack, which kind of is like, here's the method, the philosophy. So um, that's you. I know. What's the new book that you're working on, by the way?
So, uh, Hachette, the publisher, published Make Elephants Fly. So that's out there in all the bookstores. Surviving a Startup is my new book. I just finished that. It got picked up by HarperCollins.
Oh,
It's not
great.
on the, yeah, it's great. And it's not on the store shelves yet. So it will be coming out. We haven't set an exact deadline. And then, of course, I've been using this time to write my next book. So my first book is all about the elephant, your big idea, how you get it off the ground, how you make it fly. The second book is like everything an entrepreneur needs to know to survive. So all the basics. And then my new book that I'm writing now is about technology. All the new technologies coming into play right now and how they're going to impact us in the future.
So I think part of what, I try to, it's hard maybe to get people to think this way, but obviously technology uh, is very transformational, especially if you look at the last 10 years. So if you were to go back 10 years and go, well, I could have foreseen that the iPhone was going to create the app market, it was going to revolutionize music, and it was going to be a platform. And then the same thing with Android, right?
Right.
Because really, like that stuff came out like 2007 to 2010, and then it hit an inflection point where it start growing exponentially. So what do you see as the next 10 years? Like what's going to grow in the same way? Like how do you
Ah,
predict the future?
predicting the future is nobody can exactly predict the future, but you can identify underlying forces and technologies that are definitely going to come into play. And I will tell you, there's so many things. Like, there will be more opportunities for entrepreneurs in the next 10 years than there were in the last. And these will be massively transformational for our industries, for society, for government, for everything. These are going to have a huge impact. So, all of us know already AI is playing a major role, right? So AI is out there. It's being used in a million different ways across almost every industry. It is probably at this time the most powerful transformational technology there is. Then there's others that I'm super excited about, like gene editing, CRISPR gene editing software. They're coming out with new gene therapies for everything from life extension,
Right.
to curing cancer, to you name it. They're working on it. Like, if you can imagine it, there's some scientist out there in his or her lab concocting it. There's space travel. We've seen, with Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, these guys are building a whole ecosystem now in
True.
space. You don't have to be a rocket ship company to make money in space. You don't have to, build the next heavy Falcon. You can literally build software or some small piece of this much larger industry and have a very viable and potentially even very big business. So that's a big opportunity for entrepreneurs. Biotech is still going strong in all of its forms, right? There's just so much happening in biotech. We financial tech, we've seen a lot of changes with the blockchain, with banks, with insurance companies, with, all these, real estate and property technology. All, literally every business on the planet is being transformed by technology, and new technologies are on the way. There's, BCI, brain computer
That's
interfaces are
crazy
coming.
stuff. I've been telling people about, like, I think there's like a war between the gene editors and the BTI type guys, right?
Yeah, should we just make ourselves smarter through like
The new
enhancing our
plans
genes,
for edit
or
genes,
should we
and then
plug
there's
in
the,
with Elon Musk?
well, it's crazy because I think that there's like, well, there's probably a few streams there, but for people that don't know, brain computer interfaces could potentially enhance your cognitive ability, right? In
Yeah,
a bunch of ways.
yeah, I actually give talks about this. They're on my site, some free
Oh
videos,
yeah, sure.
where one of my TED Talks is all about brain-computer interfaces. So, like, basically, what does it mean to connect your brain to the internet? And do we really want to do it? Like, I know Mark Zuckerberg, he's working on this right now, would love us to do it. But do we trust Facebook? With, do we trust them with our data? No. Do we trust them with the data in our brains? I hope not. And so these are the really, I'm going to be giving a lecture, in fact, next week
Okay.
on data ethics. Like, what are the ethics of data,
Right.
especially in a world where we have brain-computer interfaces, where we have surveillance cameras everywhere. These surveillance cameras have AI. They can actually predict what you're going to do, like in a store, whether you're going to buy a product, whether you're going to shoplift, what amount you're going to spend just by looking at you. And they're also listening to you. So the world is becoming a very interesting place. These technologies are extremely powerful, and in the wrong hands, they could be extremely detrimental, even dangerous.
Yeah, so there's got to be, I don't know if legislation itself is enough. Like, I feel like there needs to be more leadership around this. And I mean, politics to me are not, it's like an old idea that can't handle this. That's what I feel like. I don't know what you think about, but like,
Most of the politicians don't even understand this stuff.
no, that's exactly.
They're like clueless. So it's very hard for them to write legislation that would control it. Yet at a certain point, we have to figure out, what they need to do, what you need to do in society is find a way to incentivize people to innovate to protect people's privacy. You can't do it by forcing them, right?
Right.
You need to create an environment where if I innovate, if I protect people's privacy, I have something to gain.
Well,
Like,
that's really, that goes to my next, I thought I was going to ask you about. So it's really interesting you said that. So I believe that there's going to be a boom in privacy technology, really, is what it boils down to, right? Like your two identities, your second life, so to speak. Like, I think that's a thing still, right?
mhm.
I don't know what you
It's
think,
it's
but
barely a thing, but yes,
is it? Yeah.
Second Life has
'Cause
been around
you had a
forever.
venture in this area, right? It
The
was
whole
more of a
virtual
game.
reality.
Yeah, the virtual reality stuff.
Yeah, I used to be in that space.
Right.
I know that space intimately. We met back when I
Yeah,
was.
that's right. I just remember that. So what do you think though about it going to the next level, which is I should be able to create an avatar where the avatar trusts and verifies who I am. So it doesn't matter. You can interface with my avatar. I shouldn't have to put all my information out there for you.
Yes, so a virtual identity, an avatar, these things, they will be coming. They're already here in some form, right? Your Facebook identity, right? Is it really you, or is it who you want the world to see? Is it your avatar? For most of us,
It's too
honestly,
much you.
yeah, it's too much. It's too much, but it's never really you, right? Because people put on Facebook what they want people to think of them, not necessarily who they are. I mean,
I
very
know
few
that.
people are totally honest on Facebook.
But
They're
I feel
selecting.
that they have modeled people's behavior in a pretty accurate way, though, don't you think?
Oh, totally. Look, they can tell what people will do, right?
Right.
Facebook can tell what you'll do because you do it, right? They know what
Yeah,
videos you'll watch because you watch those videos. That's real data. All I was saying is like your profile, right? What you put in your profile, the picture you put up there, it's the best picture of you, or some picture, right, that you want people to
True.
see. What you write in your profile isn't exactly who you are. When you select your favorite movies, you're picking the movies not just that you like, but that you think will make other people like you.
Maybe, right? I
Yeah.
feel like we'll all have our potentially, or what would be great is if we all had our own Jarvis, and that was your envoy to the world, right? Where it's like, this is your avatar butler that's going out to the world and it's presenting what you want on your behalf, but it's concealing the real you. It's like a buffer between you and the crazy theft of identities and all that other stuff.
That's an interesting idea, right? So a virtual identity that can shield you from some of the dangers.
Exactly.
Um, is it possible? What form would it take? You know, like you said on Facebook, your actions speak more loudly than your own words, right? Because you can doctor your own words, your profile, your picture, but when you actually act upon something, when they prompt you to actually do something, that's when they see who you are. That's a very hard thing to cover up, because
It
if your
is.
avatar, if you have this virtual assistant, this avatar that with the AI, let's say, that goes out there and selects what products you should be buying, what food you should eat, it is basing those preferences on you. So they're still
For
learning
sure.
about you.
For
That
sure.
that
I guess they don't know who you are though.
yeah, well that's what we're supposed to do now. Most of this data is anonymized, right? So even when Facebook sells your data, they're quote unquote selling anonymized data. We don't know, but Google too, they claim it's all anonymized. So they claim they're doing this in a way. The question is, we don't have a choice to opt out. We don't have a choice whom
Yeah.
they
Well,
sell it
if it's
to.
anonymous, why do you need my name, my birthday, and all that stuff? Like, I don't believe it is. It might be anonymous when they sell it,
Yes.
but there's a source of truth there where they got all that data, and you can tell by the data breaches that that's reality.
Oh yeah.
Versus, right?
Well,
Versus,
especially when it's your credit card and
oh,
social security number.
oh
It's
yeah.
you.
I mean, you know as well as I do, there've been like 500 million, 200 million hacks. You get these crazy emails that say, "Oh, I know this password, and I know the bad things you're doing." It's not really the bad things; it's the fact they know your password that you think it's real. It's like a con, right? So
Yeah.
it's almost like I would love, and I believe this has to happen, which is, yeah, you understand my intent, but you don't know it's me that has that intent. You don't have to know it's me. You should talk to my butler. And you don't
Yeah.
have to know that butler belongs to me.
That would be great. And if they could really make it secure, that would be fantastic. Because right
Really.
now, when you browse the web, even if they collect anonymized data, algorithms now are so smart that they can look through that data and work backwards. And a lot of times they can figure out who you are.
Yes.
Even though it's been anonymized, it's this person, they're living in this city, they have these patterns of behaviors.
Yeah.
Wow, it only matches to a small subset of people. It's probably Michael.
Maybe, right? What do you, and just to close off the topic of technology and trends, um, are you excited about 3D printing and where it's going?
I am. 3D printing had a lot of hype in the early days, like most new
Yeah, sure.
technologies. Like it's way overblown. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, we're all going to be 3D printing." Well, it turned out to be, the first wave turned out to be mostly hobbyists, early adopters
Yep.
experimenting. Now we're getting to the point where 3D printers are powerful enough. I mean, we can do amazing. You keep reading. They built this bridge. They built this home with a 3D printer. You're like, how they built this plane? Do I want to get in that plane? That was
Yeah, oh, totally.
you know this,
But I
and they're
think
building
you,
they're building parts for rocket ships now and
right.
space stations. you know, I'm excited about 3D printing. I'm excited about bringing manufacturing closer to the customer, closer to the point of sale.
So
If
on-demand manufacturing.
on demand manufacturing at the location, like you walk into a store in a mall and literally they can print out a custom whatever you want for you right there. Now there's a lot of products that are too complex still for this, electronic products and stuff, but we're getting there with
Probably.
base like shoes and stuff. They're getting pretty close to, you could walk in and get a totally custom fit shoe
Wow,
with
that's cool.
whatever style you want in the store for you and walk out with it. Yeah,
And that would
that's
impact so many things like logistics and shipping and
yeah.
storage and
you
you,
know
do you think
as
there'll be
we
stores after this?
What you we will oh, well, the whole idea right now, with the COVID-19 virus and all the problems, they've disrupted supply chains because already So much of supply chain management, the software and the AI, has been focused around not having to any inventory, excess
Right.
inventory. Like you literally,
It's
as a
the
factory,
minimum amount, right?
yeah,
Like,
as a
yeah,
factory, inventory is a cost. It's
right.
lowering your profit. So you just want to squeeze it to the bare minimum. What we found is like when there's a disruption to the supply chain, all of a sudden everything gets screwed up because there is
Right.
no inventory to,
Yeah.
to, to pull from, these masks or whatever people need right now. They're not just sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So we will see even more of that. That's a natural consequence of this automation process that we've been going on for a long time, is that we will see inventories and everything is moving closer and closer to true on demand. Like you press a button and it appears for you.
So I guess again, like, do we think this is the nail in the coffin of retail?
I don't, because there's two types of retail. There's retail where it's still retail is much huger than online. We think of Amazon as like controlling the whole market,
It's like
but
5 or 10 or 20% or something, or what is it?
yeah, it's small. Like the whole online market, I forget the exact number, but yeah, it's somewhere around like 20% or something of the offline market. So it's still a big market. People still like to shop, but um, is retail's trend shrinking? Is the amount shrinking? It is on that trend, but people will always shop as entertainment. So there's one type of shopping where it's utility shopping. I just need to get what I need to get. But there's another type of shopping when people go to the mall and they're looking around. People want to get out. They want to do
True.
something.
Yeah.
And if stores can make money, they will make money. And there's this experiential nature to shopping. The Apple store proved it, right? They didn't need those stores. Like people
No.
didn't but people want to go and they touch and they feel. They might not even buy in the store, but the store represents the company, represents the experience of Apple. And a lot of people do like to buy in the store. They just like it, and those stores are highly profitable. So there will always be room for retail. Will it change? Yeah, it's moving more in that
Probably.
direction. Will it ever totally go away? Well, even now, Costco's raking in the money.
That's
Even
true.
even
Walmart's
during
doing well, and
Walmart, even during COVID-19, those guys are raking in the money. They're not going away.
yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Just probably less. I guess we'll see how it impacts tiers
Yeah,
as they go down.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, I want to be conscious of your time because I know we could keep talking forever.
forever. I
Yeah, what are you working on that's exciting that you want people to know about, and maybe you can even touch on like how you think this is going to affect investment because I know you're very close to that in the work that you do.
Oh, sure. So yeah, I'm working on a few things. I'm always looking at new startups. If entrepreneurs out there of yours want to go apply for funding, they can go to Founderspace. We have our own fund. We work with lots of other funds. Always open to that. Love entrepreneurs, just like you, Michael. We're in the same boat there. Um, I am also creating a series of videos, educational videos that I do. I'm collaborating, with different partners like Michael, of course. Great people out there who our businesses align. We do the same thing. I'm open to opportunities. So for my life, my life right now, I I love what I'm doing, and I always just want to do more of it. And if there's great people to partner with and they have something cool going on, I will participate. And so I
Super.
encourage anybody out there, if you want me to come to your event, you want me to participate in online, if I have the time, I will do it.
Terrific. Okay. All right. I'm gonna wrap with a few questions. First, I want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Always. I love doing this.
So this might be a weird question given the times, but
Yeah.
if you were the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, who are you, Steve, spending the most time with?
Ah, well, you're asking me at a strange time. I'm trapped in my
Yeah.
house, right? So of course
Pick
it's
one.
my family, right? My
Yeah.
family I spend a lot of time with. Uh, Normally, it's odd because I travel so much that I don't spend a lot of time with any one person. I am always like very fractured. And I think that's, between online where you have this global network like we have, and like
Right.
you have, Michael, and you just meeting people, it used to be in the days you'd go into an office and you would just spend a lot of time with your coworkers. Them and your family would be the ones that you spend the most time with. Now, because of the nature of my work in particular, but because of the nature of the internet, I don't spend a lot of time with anybody but myself.
I think we're all in that boat.
Which
Jeez.
is strange, right?
Although we've been doing a lot of Zoom parties. I don't know. That's been good.
Yeah, Zoom parties are great. I have my core group of friends from college, and like now we'll get together and talk and stuff like that. These long time friends who I just love so much and I love spending time with. And I think those relationships will always be there and are very important. You know who I spend the most time with that I encourage other people they can spend time with them too, are great authors. People who have like taken everything in their head, like they have a certain life and they put it down, they put it into a book. Like I'm a huge fan of audiobooks. Like I'm
Right.
an audiobook fanatic. I'll listen to audiobooks every day when I go exercise. I'll listen to them even when I'm showering, whatever I'm doing, brushing my teeth, I'll be listening to audiobooks because they're so rich and they have so much knowledge. And so I encourage people, like literally I go through at least one, usually two audiobooks a week, full books.
Oh,
Like,
that's great.
yeah, I go at
I
double
have a
speed.
hard time with audiobooks. I got to be honest. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is.
they're not for everybody. Put
Yeah,
it this way.
I'm kind of hit and miss on them, but
Yeah, for me, yeah, I'm dyslexic. So I was cursed with the ability of being a super slow reader because all the words get mixed up and
oh
so
yeah, sure.
for me audiobooks are it. Like if I wasn't dyslexic I'd probably be on a Kindle or something
Oh,
like
that
that.
makes sense. Well, look, you're going on your third book, so you're doing pretty good.
Pretty good for a dyslexic guy.
You make audiobooks for your books?
Oh yeah, every
Yeah.
one of my books has audiobooks.
Did you narrate them?
I don't. I probably could, but I've
Just
been
like
so busy that when they have a professional narrator who I think will do a better job than me anyway, I'm very good spontaneously. I'm very good, when I just improvise. But
Yeah.
on it, but when I have to read off a page, my dyslexia comes in, and I'm actually
Oh yeah, I can
terrible.
imagine.
Like,
I'm
so
I'm I'm definitely not as I've kind of disjointed myself from the idea of scripting, so it's painful because then you're like, oh no, I messed up the script.
oh yeah. Yeah, I
It
don't
doesn't
use
work.
scripts. Like whenever I give talks, whenever I do anything, videos, it's, I know what I'm going to say. I have
Right.
an outline of what I'm going to say,
Yeah,
but I
exactly.
don't know how it's going to come out of my mouth until it comes out. That's the best way for me.
Well, that's good advice, though. I think there's a lot of great books, including Make Elephants Fly, and hopefully we'll see Surviving a Startup soon. So we'll have to stay in touch with you on that. And it's Harper Collins, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Harper Collins.
That's great. Okay, second last thing is, and you've done this before, so when we have interesting people on the podcast, we like you to nominate other interesting people as a future guest. We love talking to entrepreneurs and experts. So who would you, Steve, like to nominate as a future guest?
Ah, who do I nominate? What got me on the spot here? Who should I nominate? Um, I would nominate. Can you have somebody in China?
Sure.
She's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
She used to live in the Bay Area.
Okay.
So her name is Ying Ying. She is an expert about China US business culture relationships. Like basically, she spends her whole life bridging the gap between the two and teaching executives how to communicate cross culturally,
Oh,
especially with China, where there's actually a huge gap between how they do business, as you know,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
and how we do business here. So that's her mission. I would love to connect you with her.
That would be great. How do I pronounce her name?
Ying Ying, Ying, Ying.
Oh, that's what I thought you said. Okay. Ying Ying.
And she calls
Cool.
herself, all her followers are Yingfluencers.
Oh my goodness. Jeez. I don't think I have
She,
enough followers to do that, but
oh, well, her name
I can
works,
aspire to
Yingfluencer.
what Ying Ying's doing.
Yeah, yeah, she's really fun too, as you can imagine.
Um, the one thing I did skip, which I made a mistake of, was how do people get in touch with you, Steve?
Oh, get in touch with me, founderspace.com. Just go there, click on the contact us button, send anything you want, your business plan, whatever. We will look at it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. I'm really excited that we got to spend some more time. Come back anytime you want, and
Thank you.
I'm sure there'll be some excellent collaborations that we'll have in the future.
I think so.
This has been another episode of the Automate and Grow podcast. We will see you on the next episode of Automate and Grow.